Hello again, everybody. I'm Roger Hoover. Glad to welcome you back to the Crimson Tide Sports Network. And it's time for Crimson Live. It is presented to you by Alabama One Credit Union, a proud partner of Alabama Athletics. Well, this month we get to talk to the Director of Athletics, Greg Byrne, for his monthly visit as we catch up in December. We're getting close to the Christmas holiday, Greg, but the calendar about as busy as can be for Alabama Athletics. How's everything going?
Well, we're doing good. It's great to see our teams competing. Obviously, we got a big weekend with the SEC Championship in Atlanta, so we'll be heading over with the football team on Friday for that. And we've got men's basketball tonight. Women's basketball is going. We've got a lot of teams that are working out and getting ready for after the turn of the calendar where some of our spring sports get going. Gymnastics isn't that far away, it's a good time. It's a busy time, but also it's a time where we're trying to manage through all the challenges that everybody's going through as a society right now, and doing our very best to support our student athletes from a health standpoint, from an academic standpoint. And Roger, I don't know where I will go with this, but one of the things I'd like to do on the front end is I was in Mobile yesterday. I hadn't been out to see donors for quite a while through everything, and I think it's pretty well documented that I had COVID, so I'm not contagious, and I can't catch it right now. And so we spent some time down there yesterday, and how appreciative people have been that we've been playing, and I can tell you the feedback from our student athletes is very similar. But what a good job our fans have done through this, of being respectful of one another and understanding that people want to keep their distance, and overall our folks have been really good about wearing masks and being considerate of other people. And I just wanted to take the time to thank them to allow us to move forward, and how many good comments we've gotten from people throughout the country that when they've watched one of our games on television and seen the way our Bryant-Denny Stadium has been handled, and the way our coaches, Coach Saban has led, and it's been very good for our program and for everybody involved, and I just wanted to thank everybody.
Yeah, that's where I was going next. Just finishing football season strong. You're able to play 10 regular season games, and fortunately, Alabama's been able to win all 10. Now we get ready for the SEC Championship game coming up later this week, and then the college football playoff, hopefully, or the bowl season, whatever it may be. Just along those lines, we've seen what game days look like at Bryant-Denny Stadium, but now for these neutral site events that are coming up, what are game days going to look like for our fans trying to go to this week in Atlanta or the future games down the road?
Well, we'll see. We're fortunate this week in Atlanta we can have fans. I think it's 22 to 25%. I'm not sure exactly where it ended up landing. We've actually have our seats. We've gone through all of our allotment of tickets for the game. We're obviously very excited to play a very good Florida Gators team. We'll have our hands full. We need to go play good and have a great game and stay focused on what's ahead. If we're fortunate enough to make the playoffs, I think it's pretty well documented out there. If we were to end up at the Rose Bowl right now, they will not allow fans of any kind, including families of the parents. I think what's happening in New Orleans right now, if we're fortunate enough to end up in the Sugar Bowl, it's going to be very different. In fact, we're starting to have reports come out of New Orleans that they're going to keep the attendance in a similar manner to what they've had this year with the Saints, which has been almost nobody. I think they've had 3,000 fans. I don't think that's final yet, but I think it's trending that way. And so if that's the case, tickets are going to be very limited. And so we're trying to get our arms around that and understand all that right now. But it's looking like it'll be a very different postseason. And if we are fortunate enough to be in the playoffs and can advance there, what I have seen so far is that Miami will be allowing some fans, which is a positive. But Roger, I think going back to it, what we have tried to stay focused on is this is just a very different year. And obviously a lot of people who normally attend our events haven't been able to. We've still been able to have our events and have some crowds, which has been great for our fans. It's been our kids appreciate it. And what I want us to be able to do is make sure we stay focused on what we can control. And that's how we help support our teams, our student athletes across the board. What we can provide for our fans, we'll do our very best that we can. And then whenever the season does come to an end, that we can look back and say, man, we've done everything we can to make this be successful. And each and every one of our fans have given us that opportunity, and it is truly appreciated.
Going back to last Thursday, there was so much anticipation of what the announcement may be from the Southeastern Conference and Commissioner Greg Sankey, and it turned out to be very good news looking at the ESPN deal that will be in the future. Can you tell us a little bit about that deal and what that's going to mean for Alabama athletics down the road?
Well, it's going to be great exposure for our program. The partnership with ESPN has obviously been ongoing for years, and that's going to do nothing but strengthen. We've appreciated the partnership with CBS over the long haul. One of the things this new agreement will do from a football standpoint is they've had that exclusive 2:30 window where only one other SEC game could even take place, and that had to be on the SEC network. And so that made the majority of our games either be before that, so here in the 11 o'clock time zone, or in the central time zone at 11 a.m., or later in the evening. I think it's going to allow some more flexibility in the middle of the day, which hopefully will limit the number of 11 a.m. games. That's always been a struggle for whoever has to host those games, including here, and hopefully give us more of that afternoon to evening kickoff times. That doesn't mean we won't have it 11 a.m. in the future. We still could, but it's going to be more flexibility. The other thing is it's going to allow us to know when more of our games are in advance, so we can tell our fans, hey, here's half of the schedule for the coming year where we know where we're going to kick off. And that will allow people to plan and have more flexibility in when they arrive, when they depart, and that's good for our fan base overall too. So those are some real positives. Then the reality of, ESPN has been such a leader in the sports world, and it gives us the opportunity that the SEC, quite frankly, has taken up a large percentage of the inventory. And so our conference, the University of Alabama, is going to do nothing but continue to get great exposure, which helps us for the long term. From a recruiting standpoint, for an exposure standpoint for our student athletes, so they can hopefully shine on the biggest stage possible, and then for our fans, so they can continue to be engaged and involved with the Alabama Crimson Tide, not only our current fans, but help engage our future fans as well. And that's so much of what we've been trying to do as a department, is look at today, be very focused on that, make sure we're showing our history and honoring our history, but at the same time too, putting us in position for long-term health. And this new agreement with ESPN is going to do nothing but strengthen that for us for a long time moving forward.
We're certainly excited for that. And coming up this weekend, even and today, some events on the ESPN family of networks, including basketball. Just how excited are you to get back inside Coleman Coliseum for men's and women's basketball? And then what else can you tell us about the work done by your staff to have adjust on the fly a little bit? We saw the women's game canceled for Thursday, a new opponent announced for Wednesday. Same with the men on Saturday.
Yeah, so the one thing that's consistent is change right now, and we have to be flexible and nimble to be able to move forward, and that's what we've been trying to do. So, we've got men's game tonight at 8 o'clock. We'll have our about 1,500, 1,800 in there, and then for women's basketball, the Thursday game got moved to Wednesday, and then Saturday we were supposed to play Houston, which was a game we were very excited about. I got a call from their AD. What's today, Tuesday? I think I got a call from Chris Pearsman, the AD at Houston, on Thursday or Friday, saying, hey, we may have some issues. And then it trended that way to where, they aren't able to play. Our basketball staff scrambled and found out that Western Kentucky needed a game too. And so they're coming down here, and we'll have a game on Saturday afternoon before we have the SEC championship Saturday night. That's the way it's going to be right now. We're going to have to continue to be flexible in what we do, and we're fortunate. Our fans have been very understanding about it, and we'll do our best moving forward to keep what we have scheduled, knowing that that things will change too.
They certainly will. And what have you liked about game days inside Coleman Coliseum so far, from when the men were here and then also the women's games we have had?
First and foremost, I like we're playing. That's fun to see, and I know there was some debate in the last week. I want to say something, Roger. First of all, each program needs to do what's right for them, and that's very important. Okay, and at the same time too, I can tell you from being inside of our department since March, when everything basically got shut down to where we are today, there are no easy decisions in today's world. And what I do believe, though, I do believe the right thing for our student athletes, and some will just go, well, you're just doing it for the money. We're losing our shorts regardless. Okay. Period. No matter what we do. But what I do believe, and I believe this strongly, by having the opportunity to have our student athletes here, and that's all of our sports. That's just not football. That's just not men's basketball. That's all of our sports. Gives us an opportunity to support them academically, gives us an opportunity to support them from a medical standpoint, to have testing for them, to educate them on doing the right things, wearing their masks, the importance of social distancing, what we're able to do for them from a mental health standpoint, what we're able to do for them from a nutrition standpoint, across the board. And one of the things I don't quite understand is sometimes you'll see the narrative, oh, you just need to shut down. This is wrong that you're doing this. It's not like the virus is not going to be here if all of a sudden we don't play volleyball, or we don't play soccer, or we don't play basketball, we don't play football, we don't play golf. It's still here. And what I can tell you is I truly believe this, that our opportunity to have our student athletes come through this as healthy as possible is for them to be involved in the sport that they're participating in, for them to be able to have academic support, for them to be able to have nutrition and have the mental health services that we provide. I talked to some ADs in other parts of the country when they had made the decision early on to not have fall sports. That was their decision. I don't think you ever heard me be critical of that. I'm not going to be. But I can tell you that those athletic directors who are on the ground with them and their student athletes were very concerned about the impact of the health and well-being of their student athletes, COVID and many other ways, by not having their athletics. And so I'm disappointed at times where you hear this narrative that, oh, you're just doing this for the money. It's just simply not true. It's such an easy talking point. And the reality is there are no easy answers right now. We are all doing our very best to try to navigate through this. And we are doing our very best at Alabama to do this with looking at what's right for the long term for all of our student athletes, for all of our programs. And I'm proud of the work that our student athletes have done. I'm proud of the work that our coaches and staff, our medical staff, our academic staff, our facility folks, our fans, and our university, and trying to move this forward as safely as we possibly can. And I just think, when we look back at this has not been an easy time for anybody, but I'm proud of the work that we've done. And I think a lot of other institutions feel the same way.
Certainly agree with that, and certainly agree with the support as well for the student athletes. A lot of student athletes are hopefully getting ready for winter sports competitions, spring sports. Is there anything you can share about what may be ahead for gymnastics and then baseball, softball down the road?
Yeah, so obviously gymnastics, they're working and getting ready, and Coach Duckworth is getting her team put together, and so far, I think they're just like everybody else, excited to have the opportunity to come compete. So that'll be here before we know it. And then baseball and softball and track and tennis and golf and rowing, they're going to be all going as well. I think I've got everybody. If I left somebody out, it wasn't intentional. But they're excited to get going. And I was talking to Brad Bohannon last week, and his kids have been glad to be back. They're glad to be working out. They're getting anxious to have an opportunity. They've got a break right now, but they have an opportunity to get back on the field and get playing in the season that we thought was going to be a pretty good one last year. Same thing with softball and Murph, and it's a really talented team. I think whether you're going to be able to be there at the game, most likely we're still going to have to do the social distancing at the games and do the masks to get us through this year. But I'm encouraged. I think it was December 2nd, if I remember right, Dr. Fauci came out and said that if the vaccines continue to progress like they are, which we've seen a lot of encouragement about that, and I will, even though I've had it, Dr. Fauci has said even if you've had COVID, you should get vaccinated. I'm sure I'm going to be at the bottom of the list since I've had COVID. I'm going to get vaccinated as soon as I can, as soon as my time comes to have that happen. And I think if the vaccine continues to make progress in the manner it can, Dr. Fauci said just a couple of weeks ago that he thinks there could be full stadiums this summer, which I took as baseball. Mm-hmm. If that's the case, that's going to bode well for us for football season next year. And we just sent out an email on Friday to our fan base saying we are progressing and planning to have a full Bryant-Denny Stadium next year. And if we have to adjust, we will. But I think we're seeing some encouraging things from the vaccine standpoint that's going to give us a great opportunity to hopefully get back to normal as much as possible this next year. But we have to have things go well with the vaccine over the next several months.
And along those lines, is there going to be an effort to make sure that the student athletes and coaches, staff are able to get the vaccine relatively quickly for Alabama athletics?
Yeah, we'll obviously follow the guidelines that are put out by the health experts. But when those times come and the vaccines available for our university, we'll make sure that is available for our student athletes and our coaches and staff. And so we're starting to work through what those details can look like and make sure that we're prepared when that time comes.
Well, we'll finish up with a little bit of history. If you go to the front page of RolledTide.com, you see the wonderful video that was made about John Mitchell and Wilbur Jackson being the first African-American student athletes or football players here at the University of Alabama. Just wanted to get your reaction to when you watched that video, and then also what some plans may be to honor them down the road at Bryant-Denny Stadium and hopefully in front of a full crowd.
Yeah, so we had early plans after last year with what we did with Wendell Hudson, and he was the first African-American student athlete at the University of Alabama. We had never retired a jersey for any student athlete in the history of our program. And we decided that because of the leadership that Wendell showed, the courage he showed, we wanted to make sure that his jersey and his name would be something that every future generation student athlete at the University of Alabama, every fan would know who he is and what he represented and what a leader he was. And so the thought process was that we know back when Wilbur and John came, it was we were playing USC in football that year, and so we thought, hey, let's have an opportunity to maybe honor them in some manner tied to the USC game in Dallas this year. Well, that got canceled, and so I had been talking to John and Wilbur and saying, hey, we want to make sure we do this and do this right. So when COVID happened and everything got changed, we were very fortunate. They agreed to do a video, and our folks at Crimson Tide Productions did a wonderful job of putting it together and telling the story. And the Steelers helped us out getting the interview with John, and we went down to see Wilbur at his home and had an opportunity to put that together. And if you haven't seen it, it does a wonderful job showing Coach Bryant's leadership in advocating for the integration of our program and the stage that they set for all the future generations. And so we're still working on what that will look like for this next fall, but we wanted to make sure we recognize it during the actual 50th anniversary. And then we'll have an opportunity to celebrate in person when that time's right. And a lot of people made it happen. I'm just really proud of everyone's efforts. And if you haven't taken the time to watch it, it's well worth it. I've probably watched it about 50 times already as we were proofing it and everything. So really proud of the efforts that everybody did to put it all together. And we really appreciate John and Wilbur's leadership.
They're certainly Alabama legends, and a bit of sad news we had last week with another Alabama legend passing away and former athletics director and coach and player here at the University of Alabama, Ray Perkins. Just what can you tell us about your relationship with him? He was honored last year as a 2019 SEC legend. I know you got to know him a little bit during your time here.
Yeah, he's been great. We were obviously very sad to hear of his passing, and you want to talk about leadership and courage. I mean, to replace Coach Bryant, that takes a lot of courage just because of how great Coach Bryant was and the impact that he made here. And so I got to hear the stories about when he took over, and even heard some from him himself. Talked about his playing days here and his coaching days in the NFL and playing days in the NFL. So I do like history. I'm not a great historian. I really love sports history, and so with all the incredible sports history that we have here at the University of Alabama, the first time I had an opportunity to meet Coach Perkins, it was a real honor. And so obviously for his family, we want to do what we can to support them through this. And then I was really glad we were able to honor him last year as one of the SEC legends. It was a special time for his family and him. So it was really good. So we'll do. We tried to make sure we recognized him, and we'll do our best in the future as well. So he'll be missed, and he also made a heck of an impact on so many people's lives. I didn't realize he hired both Bill Parcells and Bill Belichick until this week. I knew they were tied, but I didn't realize he was the one that hired him. So I mean, you want to talk about a guy that had a heck of an impact on the game of football. That's him. So we'll miss Coach Perkins.
We certainly will. Extremely well said. Greg, we've really enjoyed the last 20 minutes getting to catch up and get your take on a lot of issues with Alabama athletics. Look forward to our next monthly visit in January. But before then, have a very happy holiday season, and thank you again for everything you're doing for Alabama. Roll Tide.
Thank you, Roger. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas. Happy Hanukkah. We appreciate everybody's support. Look forward to seeing you, some of you in Atlanta, but more importantly, y'all stay safe. Let's get through this thing. Let's respect the virus. Let's respect each other and roll Tide.
Roll Tide. That's Director of Athletics Greg Byrne at the University of Alabama. Thank you for watching the Crimson Tide Sports Network.